Fun Center. Doors open at 6 p.m. with first bout at 7 p.m. Learn more about the Boxers and buy tickets at thecomplexlincoln.com. You won't want to miss this event. It's the new prospects at the Complex on Saturday, May 25th at 1555 Yolanda Avenue, right off of Cornhusker Highway. Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $15 off any regular price athletic shoes with respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, and On Running. And don't forget, Browns carries a large arrangement of sizes and widths to fit your feet properly. Start your spring off right at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln.
The best time to have your air conditioner serviced is before you really need it. Call Bryant now and schedule your spring air conditioning service check. No matter what brand equipment you have, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean, inspect, and test to make sure it's ready to cool efficiently when hot weather hits. You'll stay cool and comfortable when you need it most. Just call 467-1111 to schedule your air conditioning check. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
The end of the school year is drawing near, which means graduation parties are coming soon. Are you prepared for that if you're hosting? Fierce Cheese Spread is the dip that brings everyone together to celebrate graduations and to close out a great school year. And it goes well with crackers, meats, soups, and more. How could you throw a party without it? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Fierce Cheese Spread. No graduation party is complete without it.
Hey, Husker Nation, Matt Davison here with 1890. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan, and to keep that momentum going, we need your help. Nebraska's always been a leader in college athletics, and we're doing the same through name, image, and likeness. NIL is a unique opportunity for every Husker fan to have a direct impact on the success of our programs. Through 1890, 100% of your contribution goes to the student athletes. So go to 1890nebraska.com, choose your sport, become a member, and help the Huskers recruit and retain the best. Go Big Red.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today. Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Southeast Community College invites you to check out our spaces ahead of your official campus visit. Our virtual campus tours let you see our campuses and learn more about our programs of study. Then you can schedule your individual visit in person or virtually. Virtual tours of our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, and our learning centers are online at southeast.edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, a chance of showers and storms this morning, then partly sunny and breezy. See a high around 71. Tonight, mainly clear skies with a low around 43. And tomorrow, mainly sunny skies, but a chance of showers and storms arriving late in the day. See a high around 71. I'm meteorologist Kyle Clucker from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. This is Adam Carriker on The Ticket.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, 1st and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 8-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, Adam Carriker.
All right, welcome everybody into the Big Ten Show. I'm your host, Adam Carriker. I got a special guest with me today, but before I bring him on, I want to give a shout out, as always, to our sponsors, the Jacobson Seed Company. They are your healthy hybrid advantage farmers. Hopefully, you don't just enjoy the great Big Ten coverage we provide for you here on the Big Ten Show, but also the Jacobson Seed Company will take care of all your seed needs. Check them out at jacobsonseed.com. That's the Jacobson Seed Company. They're your healthy hybrid advantage. Check them out at jacobsonseed.com. All right, today I've got a man who's been covering Husker football for years, been doing it at 6 a.m. and is an anti-morning person. That's mind-boggling to me. Okay, but he does a phenomenal job. Right now he's on the radio every morning. All right, early break. You can catch him on 93.7 The Ticket with Steve Sipple, Bill Bush, 6 to 8 a.m. every morning on The Ticket. Mr. Jake Sorensen, how you doing, my friend?
Good, Adam. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you bringing me on. Yes, it is always difficult waking up still at 4:30 in the morning, but doing it for years, you just get used to it. You just make it happen.
How long you been doing it now? So I've been doing the morning show at The Ticket since 2012, which was at 7 o'clock back then, but it's been 6 to 8 ever since August 2015. So we're working almost 9 years of 6 a.m. start times. 4:30, 9 years. That's impressive,
4:30 wake up. Yeah, I know it's tough, but I operate on low sleep, so I can make it work. That's what coffee's for, helps you out.
That is true. That is. Are you like, so my wife, if she gets 3 hours of sleep, like not night after night, but I've seen her do it, 3 hours of sleep, don't bat an eye. My mother-in-law is that same way, 3 hours of sleep. Now, my mom and myself and my sister Carrie, if we don't get 7, watch out. 8 is great, 9 is optimal, but I can't do that. How do you, are you one of those folks that just needs like 3? And I know a lady named Linda who has watched our kids for years. So shout out to Miss Linda, as she's known in our house. She operates on 4 hours of sleep every night of the year. Are you one of those people who can get away with doing that? And if so, what is wrong with you? How do you do that, man?
I would say I can get away with that. I do not like 4 hours of sleep. That's usually not great to go do the morning show on that. I mean, that's the thing. When you do a morning radio show, you can't just waltz in and be lollygag. You got to have energy. People are relying on you to wake them up and be entertaining. So if I'm tired, I tell you what, people would tell you can talk to Sip and Bill. I might seem tired some mornings at 5:59, but at 6 o'clock, energy hits. You got to bring it. It's just showtime. You're an energy guy yourself, Adam, so you get it. Sometimes you're probably tired before the show, but when it's time to go, you roll. So you make it work.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not like this all the time. I don't have that much energy to be like this all the time. And then you combine the fact that I'm a big guy, okay? So it's interesting because you talk about the mic and 5:59 compared to 6. You put a mic in front, it just comes out. Like you put a microphone in front of me, it just comes out. I could literally be exhausted. Put the mic in front of me, bam, it just comes out. Take the mic away, I could go straight to sleep. Sometimes, obviously not all the time. I'm not a guy who's constantly asleep. Put a mic in front of me, then I talk, and then I sleep the rest of the day. I'm just saying we're human just like anyone else. One more life question for you, and then we'll get into some Husker football. You recently had, by the way, congratulations, a new baby. Okay.
Thank you.
So now you're talking about 4:30. Now you're talking about you got to bring the funk at 6 a.m. And now we're talking about sleepless nights, I assume.
Yeah.
By the way, congrats again. But how is that going as well?
I'll tell you about what my wife is a superstar. She handles a lot of the midnight feedings, which is great. But still, the baby wakes up, you still hear her. But that's just, I've always told people I was kind of always prepared to be a dad in that way because I don't sleep well to begin with. Even nights I do go to bed at 9:30 or 10 and wake up at 4:30. I wake up throughout the night. It's never a restful 6 hours of sleep. So it's still difficult, but I feel like I've been training for this for a long time. Not like I wanted to do that, not sleep well, but my body is prepared me for that. So I guess kudos to that. But just a lot of coffee, constant caffeination, and everything is good.
Healthy hybrid life tips from Jake Sorensen there.
Water and caffeine. It's
got to stay hydrated and it's got to stay caffeinated. The keys to life, ladies and gentlemen. I love that you talked about 6 hours of sleep. Like that was a big night for you. And here I am complaining if I don't get 7 to 9. And I will say this, you talk about training for it. My wife grew up on a farm. My mother-in-law has lived on a farm for like 40 years. So I do think there's a connection to having to get up early, whether it be for a radio show, whether it be for hard work on a farm. You kind of get trained and used to things. All right, man. I'm going to shock you with this first question. Dylan Raiola. I know you didn't see it coming. Yeah. All right, give me your thoughts. Dylan Raiola. Exciting at the spring game. Are you completely bought in? Is it a little bit of fool's gold because it was the spring game and the defense wasn't quite doing what it normally does? What are your thoughts?
I don't know if I'd go with fool's gold. I think we thought he'd be pretty good, and he was. I didn't know what to expect in terms of him looking that good. Now, I thought he would be impressive. We've talked about the guy that's a 5-star quarterback, one of the top players in the class who Ohio State had to commit for a while. Georgia had committed. If he's going to those schools, he's got to be very good. And I just was impressed with his ability to extend plays without having to run. I think in Nebraska in previous years, you've had a lot of running quarterbacks. If a play breaks down, they are inclined to run the ball, which is, it can work. It's worked for Nebraska, but also can lead to some fumbles and some, just some mistakes. And I just thought, even though it was a spring game, you can't sack the quarterback in the spring. I liked how he was able to roll to his right, roll to his left, and buy extra time to hit the open receiver. So impressed there. The deep ball, he had great arm strength. I thought his accuracy was very good. So, Marcus Satterfield mentioned a week or two ago that he finally was looking at like recess at one of the recent scrimmages because he was kind of finally having fun, letting loose a little bit. And I thought you could see that same type of play in the spring game. He looked like he was having recess out there, just again having fun, finding his guys, hitting them deep. The touchdown pass to Bonner was just a thing of beauty where nobody else could get that ball. That's not a ball you can pick off. It was to one person only. And that's the type of plays that I think Nebraska missed out on last year where they had maybe guys open in situations and they couldn't hit them. That pass, that catch was just a thing of beauty. So I'm not saying fool's gold. I think we expect him to be a great player. But I think that you have your starting quarterback lined up for 2024, and it's true freshman Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, with Raiola, he's got the arm strength to make the defense defend the whole field, so to speak, as opposed to just 20, 30 yards from the line of scrimmage. He's got the ability to throw that ball 50, 60 plus yards in the air. Now you got to defend a lot more of the field. Obviously, it spreads you out. Okay, you've got athletes at wide receiver who can now make plays to get open, catch the ball. Maybe, I don't know if we're going to break a ton of tackles, but we got the athleticism to make you miss and then make a big play. And then he's got the ability to fit it into windows. I think that was the most impressive thing to me, the ability to fit it into tight windows. And I've referenced the 2-point conversion play before.
Yeah.
Rolling to his right, tight window. Literally 3 different guys could have batted that ball down. I don't know about picked it, but he had to be like in the perfect spot, and it was right there. That's a tough throw to make. To me, that was my favorite play of the entire day. Now, talk to me about Nebraska's offense as a whole. And the defense was missing a couple people, how'd they phrase it, patchwork defense a little bit, and they weren't blitzing a ton. Although I did see a couple of blitzes up the middle after the offense kind of went up and down the field a few times. I think Tony White was like, all right, I'm sick of this crap. Okay. So it was what it was. And maybe there was a couple of sacks or penalties that weren't called that helped the offense, but that's what Matt Rule wanted. He wanted it to be the highlight show for the spring game. So what do you take away from the offense as a whole after the spring game?
Well, a couple things. I think that you have a true weapon in Jalen Lloyd. We talked about the additions of Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nayor, the 2 transfers coming in, which I think would be very important parts of the offense. But, I think that you're going to see – you already saw early on a connection with Raiola and Lloyd. There's a young guys. Lloyd was good last year for Nebraska. I just think he will excel with this offense. And I think that, the receiving core hopefully – is night and day from last year. I'm not trying to bash that unit, but you didn't really have a ton of superstars. It was young with Coleman as a freshman and Lloyd as a freshman, and then you had Washington got hurt. Marcus Washington got hurt against Illinois. He already missed some time to begin with. So you just didn't really have the go-to playmakers, and especially with the year without Trey Palmer. You saw the difference in the offense without Trey Palmer to last year with the non-explosive plays. So I'm optimistic there. The offensive line, we all know, is very experienced. Can that experience show worthy in these games that you can be both good run blockers and pass protectors. You got tackles you like in Ben Hart, Prohaska. You like Ben Scott. You like a couple of those guys inside you like also. So optimistic there. And running back, we heard from E.J. Barthel, the running backs coach, saying that good is not good enough for this unit. And I'm still not sure right away who the running back's going to be, the starter. Emmett Johnson is in that conversation. You saw the long run for Dante Dowdell, the Oregon transfer for the touchdown. So there is optimism there. But I think if I had to say one concern, I'm not really sure who your go-to back is. But if you've got plural backs that you feel comfortable with, then I think that's okay. But definitely excited for the receiving core. And don't forget also Thomas Fidone, a guy that was highly heralded, had 2 years of injuries. We saw him have 4 touchdowns last year. I think is sometimes still forgotten about in this picture, even though he's got great talent. When Carter Nelson gets to the field also, I mean, you've got in Borkature, I mean, I like that unit too. So I'm optimistic, but it all starts with, can that experienced line do what they should do, having all those starts under their belt? Can they really lead the way? That's the big question for Nebraska.
Yeah, the Huskers have 7 offensive linemen who've started games, 152 total combined starts between all of them. Some of the guards, in addition to, you mentioned the tackles, center Ben Scott, some of the guards, Justin Evans Jenkins, Henry Latufsky. Right now, if we played a game this Saturday, it looks like he'd be the starter. I know Micah Mizuka. This is a guy who started in multiple Power 5 schools and multiple Power 5 conferences. He was a little bit quiet during the spring, a little bit in and out. I'm curious to see what he can do in fall camp, because that's a guy that can absolutely run block for sure. All right. He explodes off the ball. He's big, mean, and physical. Yeah. His pass blocking has always been the thing he needed to improve on the most. But I'm curious to see how he can play in this mix in the offensive line as well. Yeah, it was funny with Thomas Fidone. Matt Rule just flat out said, people are trying to get him. In other words, they're tampering, okay, which he's not alluded to, flat out said before. But he said pretty much every school in the country is trying to get Fidone, and he's going to be a heck of a playmaker along with all these wide receivers that we got. When it comes to the running back position, because Gabe's hurt, Ramirez hurt, so you had Dante. Quentin was a little bit quiet. Emmett seemed to be the guy at the end of the spring. All right, just for fun, way too early prediction from you. All right, who are the top 2 backs going into game 1 versus UTEP in your mind? Way too early for fun prediction.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing where you could honestly, I'm not sure it's a right or wrong answer. There's so many different options and there's not, I don't think there's a true back that's clear. So I would say, personally, Emmett Johnson and Dante Dowdell are my 1-2. Ramir Johnson's a guy that I like. I'm sure there's a spot for him on this roster. Gabe Irvin, we've seen, has had battled injuries. Pretty good when he's healthy. Not great, but pretty good. But again, coming off an injury. So I would say right now, as we sit here in May, I would go Emmett Johnson, Dante Dowdell, and that could switch for Dowdell 1, Johnson 2, Johnson 1, Dowdell 2, and maybe neither of those guys are 1, 2. But that's why the picture is so odd. And I think that it's telling too that Nebraska, they didn't get the kid, but Dylan Edwards is a Colorado running back that just transferred to Kansas State, and there's rumblings that Nebraska and Kansas and K-State were all talking or interested in him. He ends up going to K-State instead. I'm not sure, if you talk to Matt Rule in privacy, how much they were after him, but it would make sense to consider a transfer running back if with seeing what you had in spring football. But I'll say that Dowdell and Emmett Johnson are my 1-2, and if I'm wrong, I've been wrong before.
Yeah, we've all been wrong before. We'll all be wrong again. It was interesting because I've always thought we had kind of a loaded running back room, at least from a talent perspective. Gabe, Irvin, Ramir Johnson, if they come back healthy. Ramir has started. Gabe, it always seems to be the starter coming into a season if he's healthy. Hopefully he can stay healthy this year. Obviously, Dante was highly thought of when he came from Oregon from the transfer portal. Emmett always seems to be the guy that's kind of overlooked, and by the time the season was rolling, he was starting, and that was due to a lot of injuries, but he played well. Spring kind of overlooked, and by the end of spring, he's kind of the favorite at the moment, the very slight favorite. But the fact that they were talking to another running back, albeit a very talented, very good running back in Trey Edwards, I was kind of surprised by that, but I do think it's a little indicative of, hey, maybe we do need a little bit more help in the running back room. We have 4 guys who could all potentially start, but I think they're all kind of question marks. at this moment in time as well. All right. Unfortunately, a couple injuries. Saturday's spring game, Demetrius Bell seems to be a little bit, wish him the best. Okay. There are other guys in that wide receiver room that can step up, a room full of talent and athleticism. Who's going to step up and do it consistently down after down, day after day is what I'm looking to see. But I wish Demetrius a speedy recovery. Bly Hill, maybe 6 weeks, I've heard at first, and then I've heard a few months. Maybe he could play, the last half of the season. It's really kind of speculatory at this point. But if Bly can't, let's just say, unfortunately, if Bly can't play in the fall, hopefully he can. Let's say he can't. Who do you think steps up in that corner role opposite Tommy Hill then?
Well, you've seen a guy, Malcolm Hartzog, is somebody that's been is taking that spot. Now, Tommy Hill, you can stop there for a second. Tommy Hill has gone from someone that I think about 2 years ago was starting as a defensive back. Then he went to receiver. They opted him to go to receiver because it wasn't working. And that's a great story of redemption where he came back strong last year. He's going to be the number one cornerback with Quentin Newsom now onto the NFL as a undrafted free agent. So I love the redemption story for Tommy Hill. But yeah, Bly Hill, 6'2", 6'3", good sized cornerback. Like you said, if it's only 6 weeks, that's great. He gets back for fall camp, and we'll see if he's fully healthy and trust that knee that happened in the spring game. But if it's half of the season he's gone, that stinks. And the good news for that, if it is half the season, is that we all know the schedule in the first half, knock on wood, is gettable. Nebraska has a very winnable first 7 games. Will they win all 7 games? I don't know. They're all very winnable. It gets tough the last 5. So if that's the worst case scenario, he's back for the last half of the season. That's not a bad worst case scenario. But I think Malcolm Hartzog is the guy I look at in that position. Someone that's has had time there, has played a starting role for the Huskers, and beyond that, it's going to be a battle there. So I don't really know if there's a favorite, but I do know that they were speaking so highly of Bly Hill that I was looking forward to seeing what he looked like. He played all right in the time he was in, but really hopeful that that's a short-term injury, that he gets back at some point in June, early July, and we're talking about a healthy Bly Hill for fall camp, and that you just kind of avoided disaster there.
Hi, I'm Senator Bo Ballard. I was born and raised in Lancaster County, learning the value of hard work and grit at a young age. I built my own company, creating jobs right here in our community. I know that families and businesses in our community need lower taxes, lower cost of healthcare, and a great education. That's why, as your senator, I helped pass the largest tax cut and made the most significant investment in education in Nebraska history, and worked to reduce the cost of healthcare. I'm Senator Bo Ballard, and I humbly ask for your vote on May 14th. Paid for by Ballard for Nebraska.
Southeast Community College invites you to check out our spaces ahead of your official campus visit. Our virtual campus tours let you see our campuses and learn more about our programs of study. Then you can schedule your individual visit in person or virtually. Virtual tours of our campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, and our learning centers are online at southeast.edu/visit SCC. SCC, your path to possible.
I'm Dave Osted. And I'm Ryan Osted. I think my first memory of golf is playing with my dad at a par 3 course. It was an absolute blast, and he always would have an ice cream hole. So if I got an 8 or less, we'd be going for ice cream.
My first memory of golf really focused on driving the golf cart, being able to drive that cart.
You were a crazy driver.
I was a crazy driver, but it was what I look forward to. And what's really funny now, when I take my kids out play golf, that is the one thing, along with the snack bar, that they are most excited about.
Focus on the good stuff. Play better, have fun, and shop Osted's.
Highball Bar in downtown Lincoln is open and located just north of 11th and O Street. Highball Bar offers a vibe and atmosphere like no other, making it the perfect place to grab a drink or beverage. Highball Bar features great events such as Karaoke Sunday, $4 Tito's on Mondays, Jack Daniel's specials on Wednesdays, and much more. Make Highball Bar your go-to spot after a hard day at work or on the weekend. Highball Bar, located at 122 North 11th Street in downtown Lincoln.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5600 5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Join us each Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon for Youth Football 101 with Tank Perry of the Nebraska Red Wolves of 7-on-7 football. The future of the sport depends on the foundation set at a young age. Hear those stories and more each Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you're passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first.
At Doane University, your future is uniquely yours, and our world-class liberal arts education is just the beginning.
We invite you to schedule your campus visit and experience why Doane University will start you on your journey to your future career.
Learn more by scheduling your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit. See you soon.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Saturday, May 4th versus the Columbus Fury at Nationwide Arena in Columbus. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 5 p.m. with first serve at 6. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network. Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
When you think about the 6 transfer portal players that came, he was by far the least talked about of all 6 of those guys. And man, I remember looking him up, and his dad played in the league, I think 8 to 10 years, 6'3" corner, St. Francis, so kind of a smaller college, not as well known. I was like, man, I feel like this is just one of those Matt Rule diamonds in the rough find. And I didn't talk about him enough at the time. You know, that entered my mind, but including myself, it was Dante, it was Isaiah, it was Jamal, even Mike. It was all these guys that kind of stole the headlines, so to speak. So hopefully he can be back sooner rather than later. Yeah, Hartzog practice predominantly at safety this spring. He could easily go back to corner, as we know. I will say this. I've been told it's patella, and I've had patella tendonitis. I've never, knock on wood, torn it or anything like that. What I can say is the patella, just full disclosure, is one of the most painful injuries you can have, because even when I was cleared to play, it was standing up, sitting down. Dude, taking a dump was a nightmare, man. I dreaded it. It was so painful. It's even when you're cleared, it's a very painful injury. And I'm hoping he gets a speedy recovery, but having dealt with this, the patella, your tendons, your patella tendon, all your tendons, your joints, they're way slower to heal than a muscle or a soft tissue injury because they get far less blood flow. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, and hopefully it's not as painful as what I dealt with. Maybe
you would know this too, Adam, in terms of hitting. In terms of injuries. Now, again, I didn't play football at a high level like you did in the NFL and in college, obviously, but just any injury in general. I mean, I think about a guy at Nebraska who does stuff with the ticket, De'Morney Pearson-L. When he had a foot injury, he was such a slasher, and it's never was the same guy ever again when he had an injury, even though he came back healthy. There's a trust level in terms of your body. Do you trust yourself to go do the same stuff you were doing that led to the injury? And in terms of your experience, what's that like coming back from a major injury to trust your body to do the same thing you were doing beforehand?
So it's interesting because I was literally going through this at the time that I heard Adrian Peterson say what I'm about to relay. But I would just be doing simple things like getting up off the toilet. Every time I was like testing it, like, is it more or less painful than yesterday? Okay. Just standing up, sitting down on the couch, just doing simple things. And it was literally about that same time Adrian Peterson was coming back from his ACL tear. And he talked about he's pushing the car around the corner of the grocery store and he's giving it a little extra cut off his knee to see how it feels. Just these stupid little things that athletes do to test, because that translates to full speed contact. But that's how the mind works. That's just kind of how it is. I've always said coming back from injury, there's a difference between being cleared and feeling 100%. Either shoulder, the knee, the ankle, anytime I've been cleared, okay, I'm cleared, but I don't quite have the trust yet, and it definitely doesn't feel normal, okay? So if you're cleared 6 to 9 months or even 4 to 6, depending on the injury, a lot of times it can take a year to a year and a half before you get that trust back. And so hopefully, again, for Bly Hill, hopefully it's not as painful as what I experienced. Hopefully it's not that serious, and hopefully he's back sooner, much rather than later. But the mental part of it, as you alluded to with the trust, is a huge part of it as well. All right, man. So you kind of alluded to Nebraska's schedule. So I want to look at the first 7 games, and then the last 5 games real quickly. So you look at the first 7 games. Our opponents from last year had a combined 26 wins and 47 losses. All right, so there's a lot of winnable games here. Probably, I think most people would agree with this. The most challenging game is probably going to be Colorado. Also, who knows what the hell to expect out of Colorado? They could come out, be a top 25 team, or they could be 4-8 again. Blow a 29-point lead on Friday night to Stanford again. Who knows what to expect from them? But let's look at UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa. I mean, there's really one game that's going to steal the headlines there. But talk about those first 3 games for your perspective to start with.
Well, I think number one, if it's Dylan Raiola at quarterback, that's a good start. We got a Power 5 team in Colorado. It's going to the Big 12 now. UTEP has been not very good for quite some time, but it's not an FCS team. It's a power. It's the Group of 5 school. And Northern Iowa is a FCS school. So I like that you're not going into Murderer's Row to start. And this team, we all know it's embarrassing. Nebraska's not made a bowl game since 2016. This is in the second year historically of Matt Rule at Temple and Baylor have been very, very good after a rough first year. So if the script stays the same, then you feel like, hey, they can have a very good year. And the start would indicate that's very possible. So Colorado is a team that if this team is not circling that game saying we want redemption about last year, Jeff Sims is not the QB anymore. You don't have the every quarterback had turnover problems last year. It was not just Jeff, but everybody had problems. That defense had 8 sacks against Colorado in the game they lost. They got blown out. And so they should have every reason in the world, probably a night game in Lincoln, to feel like they need to get that game. They can get that game and beat Shedeur and Dion. And hopefully it's a 2-0 with 3-0 likely the next week against Northern Iowa. You have to love the setup. And for a team that just needs to get on the right tracks. How many times in the last years have they lost the first game? Northwestern in Ireland, Illinois, they've lost to them. This 0-1, it's hard to get back from that. So 3-0 is potential. And if you let a team that's trying to learn how to win again get off to a good start, that's massive, especially for a team that likely is starting a true freshman quarterback. So you could not have asked for a better 3 games, and to have one of those being a rivalry game that also is redemption from last year is just it's a perfect setup for Nebraska. It really is.
Yeah, that game versus Colorado last year, I think people look at it like we got blown out, and that's what the final score says. But with 7 minutes to go before halftime, it was 0-0. Yep. And we had driven inside their 50-yard line 3 times. 3
turned it over.
Yeah. Not even turnovers, just execute a handoff, execute a snap. Just don't snap it into the guy going in motion. Just, 8th grade, elementary, middle school, football type things. And we're going into halftime within a touchdown, or we probably have the lead, honestly. Then we turn it over 3 times within our 50, and our defense actually held them to 2 field goals and a touchdown. So it was only 13-0 at halftime. Then they just got worn out. As you mentioned, they had 8 sacks, but they got worn out the second half. We couldn't consistently move the ball. I think Jeff Sims had the one long touchdown run, and that was really it throughout the game. That Colorado game could have looked a lot differently. Just take away the turnovers. Okay. So I look at the first, and I asked you about the first 3 games, but the first 7 games, we got 5 of them at home. I already talked about the abysmal win-loss record of our opponents. Really the only game that makes you nervous, and I don't want to say this because, we've lost to Purdue in the past. We've lost to some of these teams in the past. Take nothing for granted. If we aren't at least 5-2, we're in trouble. 7-0 is possible. We may lose a game we otherwise shouldn't. 6-1, I think, is very realistic. And we don't face a good defense or a great offense that entire time, barring possibly Colorado. No great defense. So if you got a true freshman quarterback possibly starting, your toughest opponent, Colorado, doesn't have any interest in tackling, doesn't have any interest in playing defense. They just want to score 1,000 points and get Shadur drafted number 1. And so this freshman quarterback, potentially, if it's Dylan that starts, you got a perfect 7 games to get ready for the last 5 games. Now, what's your record prediction after their first 7 games? And then we can touch on the last 5 real quick.
Well, I think what you said is right. I mean, anything worse than 5-2 is majorly disappointing and concerning. And you got some teams. Illinois is in that first 7 games, and they've been up and down. They've had some good years, some mediocre years. You never know what to expect from them. Purdue is expected to have a bad year. Yep. Rutgers, I know, is. I think that's not first 7 games.
Rutgers and Indiana are the last.
Yep. Indiana's got a new head coach. Rutgers has shown some signs of life under Brent Schiano, so that's not a gimme game by any means, but. But no, I think I would say 6-1 is an expectation. 7-0, I just can't do that because this team has not done that for quite some time. It is for sure attainable. Like no one in that 7 games is like, well, can't win that game. But I can't do that because they haven't done anything like that for forever. So 5-2 is the minimum. I'll go 6-1 with some hesitation, just knowing that I know this team is, they're 8-30 in 1-score games the last 6 years. I mean,
we're with you. Yeah.
Right. Does that continue, or do you finally get some luck to go your way with field goals and bounces going your way? I have to think at some point that trend breaks naturally, but I'll say 6-1, and I would lean more towards 5-2 versus 7-0 if I had to go to either that direction.
Yeah, I'm with you. The ability to go 7-0 is there, but the trust to do it is not. So I'm with you. Either 6-1 or 5-2 probably. And you mentioned the other probably, and you never know. I mean, these are college kids. You never know who's going to show up on any given Saturday. But without knowing who's going to show up on a given Saturday, I would say Rutgers is the other potential toughest game. And again, that's in Lincoln. All right, the last 5 games of the year, obviously Ohio State's going to be tough. UCLA got a first-year head coach in Deshaun Foster. No disrespect, one of the best running backs ever, but he's never even been a coordinator. Okay, so he made the jump from running backs coach to head coach. So that's going to be interesting. UCLA does have some talent, though. All right, you got USC, who can score a bajillion points and gives up a bajillion and 1 points every game. Now, Lincoln Riley did say, even though it's year 3, he's kind of starting over in a lot of things like it's year 1. I assume he's focusing mostly on maybe tackling drills and defense.
Yeah.
Then you got Wisconsin and Iowa, who is always a close game, never more talented than us. You never know which way it's going to go. Those 5 teams last year had a combined 44 wins, 22 losses. So 2-to-1 win-loss ratio. What are your thoughts on the last 5 games?
I think the only for sure loss is Ohio State. I mean, the first 7 games of the season are all winnable. I think Ohio State is a for sure loss. I mean, things can happen, but the other ones, UCLA, like you mentioned, new head coach, that game's in Lincoln. You got to feel good about your chance of beating Deshaun Foster and company in Lincoln. USC on the road, tough game. They're replacing their number 1 overall pick at quarterback in Caleb Williams, who was a superstar, obviously a Heisman Trophy winner. They always have talent out there, but that's the game that Nebraska should feel like they can win. They had some bad losses last year at USC. And then Wisconsin, Iowa, I mean, you've been in those games the last couple of years. You beat Iowa with Trey Palmer on the road. Wisconsin, you should have beat last year. You blew that game up 14-0. I was at that game at Camp Randall. So disappointed in how that game ended. But, that's not a scary team. Braylon Allen's gone to the draft. He can't terrorize anymore. Luke Fickell, I like him as a head coach. Not sure, if they're going to blow up with him or just be average at Wisconsin. But I'm saying USC and Ohio State are the toughest games. Ohio State's the only one I'm saying for sure you're not winning. USC is second on that list, but I don't think you can go out there and say we have no chance of winning this game.
Mm-hmm.
I expect a loss, but in that last stretch of the season, I could see 2-3 or 3-2 being very feasible, which would be very, very positive for a team. That would get you to 9-10 wins possibly if you go 6-1 or 7-0 in those first 7 games.
I'm with you. You see some of these name brands like Ohio State, obviously, but USC, UCLA, even Wisconsin, Iowa. You're like, oh man, that's brutal. And I'm not saying it's easy, but there's 4 very winnable games. And I'm with you. The 2 toughest games are Ohio State at Columbus and then at USC. That game might be 60-61 if they still aren't playing any defense this year out in California. So that could be the most entertaining game of the year, along with Colorado potentially. So any of these games are winnable. I think my prediction, I'm going to go with 6-1 after the first 7. Although if I had to choose between 5-2 and 7-0, I'm going 5-2.
Yeah.
With the last 3, if I say 3-2, that puts us at 9 wins, right? How crazy would that be? So just because I'm scared to death to say that, and I've got no courage in my convictions today, I'm going to go 2-3, which still puts us at 8-4. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Take it and run. I mean, and you say 9 wins is crazy. Think about it. I mean, Bo Pelini had 9 wins every year. He was here, and it wasn't good enough for us. We thought, let him go. 9-10 wins for 7 straight years, and now we just killed for 9 wins. And Mike Riley had a 9-win season. He started off, 7-0 in 2016, and then they ended up going 9-4. But it's not impossible. Nebraska was doing that not long ago. But you're right. The standards, the way things have changed. It's amazing how we can view 9 wins as like, wow, what a season, when it was just not good enough long ago. But I think Matt Rule fully would tell you he believes 9 wins is attainable and more than that. So they're not scared of being successful. You shouldn't be. This team needs to believe they can be an upper level Big Ten team, not be in the basement of the conference as these 4 new teams come in. And you can really make a step in the right direction this year by getting to 8, 9, 10 wins. It's very feasible. It's attainable.
It's absolutely attainable. When I say whatever I said, I'm scared of it or whatever it was, it's just we haven't done it, and we haven't even had a winning season. Most people know this. Sorry, I'm going to say it out loud. We're the only Power 5 team not to go to a bowl game since 2016. All right, there it is. I said it again. I don't know why, but that's what makes me nervous about predicting 9 wins. It's very, very possible, and it's interesting when you talk about expectations. It was 40 plus years that we won 9 games or more. And I'll never forget, Osborne has shared this story a couple times after the 90 season, the 91 Citrus Bowl, and they got beat by Georgia Tech, who shared the national title with Colorado that year. He gathered his coaches together and said, start looking for other jobs. We're probably going to be fired. That's after a 9-win season, 40 plus years. Okay, and like you said, that wasn't good enough under Pelini. There were some other factors in there. It's an entire show for another day. But now 9 wins would be like, oh my God, it'd be like, I'm scared to predict it. It's crazy how things can change over time. All right, man. I promised 25. You gave me 32. I appreciate the extra touchdown and minutes. As always, you can check out Jake Sorensen, Bill Bush, and Steve Sipple, 6 to 8 a.m. on the radio. Early break. They do a great job. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me, Jake. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back.
This is Lancaster County Attorney Pat Condon reminding you to vote for my friend and colleague Carolyn Bozen. Carolyn Bozen is a strong voice for Lincoln who we need representing us in the legislature. Carolyn Bozen voted for historic funding for education to support our schools and for the largest property tax relief package in Nebraska history. Carolyn Bozen is the voice we need representing us in the legislature. This is Lancaster County Attorney Pat Condon. Join me in supporting Carolyn Bozen for legislature on May 14th.
Paid for by Bozen for legislature.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Saturday, May 4th versus the Columbus Fury at Nationwide Arena in Columbus. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 5 p.m. with first serve at 6. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network. Are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today. Do you need motivation to get to the gym on the weekend or even in general? Tune into the Movement Hour each Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. Movement Academy owner Robert Kuhlman will host the show as he introduces new ways to stay in shape. The Movement Hour every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 a.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Highball Bar in downtown Lincoln is open and located just north of 11th and O Street. Highball Bar offers a vibe and atmosphere like no other, making it the perfect place to grab a drink or beverage. Highball Bar features great events such as Karaoke Sunday, $4 Tito's on Mondays, Jack Daniel's specials on Wednesdays, and much more. Make Highball Bar your go-to spot after a hard day at work or on the weekend. Highball Bar, located at 122 North 11th Street in downtown Lincoln.
The end of the school year is drawing near, which means graduation parties are coming soon. Are you prepared for that if you're hosting? Fierce Cheese Spread is the dip that brings everyone together to celebrate graduations and to close out a great school year. And it goes well with crackers, meats, soups, and more. How could you throw a party without it? Get to your local grocery store today and load up on Fierce Cheese Spread. No graduation party is complete without it.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
The University of Nebraska Rodeo Association is excited to announce the 2024 Nebraska Cornhusker College Rodeo. Come on out to the Sandhills Global Event Center May 3rd and 4th. Cheer on your University of Nebraska Rodeo team as they take on teams from all across the Great Plains region. Friday is college night, and Saturday afternoon kids attend free with purchase of adult general admission ticket at the door. Advance tickets on sale now at sandhillsglobaleventcenter.org. Tickets also available at the Fort South 56th in Lincoln. Don't miss the Nebraska Cornhusker College Rodeo May 3rd and 4th.
At Doane University, we build leaders, and that means your success and achievements come first.
At Doane University, your future is uniquely yours, and our world-class liberal arts education is just the beginning.
We invite you to schedule your campus visit and experience why Doane University will start you on your journey to your future career.
Learn more by scheduling your personal campus visit today at doane.edu/visit. See you soon.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, a chance of showers and storms this morning, then partly sunny and breezy. See a high around 71. Tonight, mainly clear skies with a low around 43. And tomorrow, mainly sunny skies, but a chance of showers and storms arriving late in the day. See a high around 71. I'm meteorologist Kyle Clucker from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and our annual spring sales event is now underway. We have absolutely huge savings right now at Koppel. New Sierras and new Silverados have a double whammy. Choose from APR starting at 1.9% or discounts over $9,000. Yes, that's right, 1.9% APR or discounts of over $9,000. So please take that short money-saving drive down 144th Street just south of the interstate, or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with approved credit.
You're listening to Adam Carriker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Big Ten Show. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Jake Sorensen of Early Break. He does a great job. Gets up at 4:30 every morning and has a new baby. The man doesn't need sleep. He's an alien, and I mean that in the best way possible, because if I don't get 7 to 9, ladies and gentlemen, I am just unbearable. I'm just going to admit it. All right, so last week, I kind of mentioned that I tend to wear collared shirts on this show a lot. And I kind of briefly chatted about why. Basically, my wife says I need to look good and I should do it. And she's the boss, so I listen. But I wear V-necks sometimes too. I think you can kind of see that, especially if you're watching on the tube of the YouTube. Now, I'll never forget my rookie year. There was a third-round corner drafted to the Rams while I was there, my same draft class. First name was Jonathan, out of Tennessee. He always wore V-necks every day. Every day he wore V-necks. So finally, I was like, why do you wear V-necks every day? And his answer was so simplistic, so accurate. So I either wear on this show collared shirts or a V-neck every day that I do the Big Ten show. And his answer was simply this. It's like I could have dressed up, but I just chose not to. And I'm like, dude, that's like the perfect answer for a V-neck. So that's why I wear collared shirts, and that's why I wear V-necks, to try to look somewhat kind of sort of halfway un poquito presentable on the Big Ten show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a week ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I focused on the draft last week, so it might have been 2 weeks ago. I had talked about the very real potential possibility, of a college football super league. It's been proposed. It's been talked about. Now, there's different ways that this has been talked about, and I gave some thoughts a couple weeks ago, overarching thoughts. I want to talk about the pros and cons today. And then I want to talk about this idea of the G5 teams breaking away and having their own playoff. I might be the only person under God's hot sun that I've talked to that actually doesn't like that. But I'll save that for the very end of the show, the end of the segment. All right. So the proposed Super League. All right. One way it's been proposed is like 8 divisions of 10 teams apiece. It's been proposed in other various ways as well. Basically, this is as much like the NFL as college football can be. You're getting the playoff. You're getting basically an AFC, NFC, if they divide it into 2 conferences within the Super League and then divisions within it. What's it sound like? Just like the freaking NFL. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of SEC and Big Ten teams. Essentially, what this would be is all the quote-unquote Power 4 teams for now, okay? And you'd have to add like Notre Dame, actually join a conference at some point. Ugh. All right, and then you need a couple other teams as well. I would suggest UConn. I know they suck at football, but their girls basketball they're the premier program, and kudos to South Carolina for going undefeated, winning the national title. But as far as the past 20 years, they got probably the best women's basketball coach of all time, easily top 3, and the best women's program, of the past 3 decades. And then you think about their men's program, back-to-back national champs, 5 national championships in the past 24 years. Okay, so I would argue if you need an additional 2, 3, 4 teams to get to 80, because right now I think there's 76 Power 5 teams. I'd have to go back and double check and add up the Big 12, which doesn't have 12 teams, and the Big 10, which doesn't have 10 teams, and the SEC and ACC. Math doesn't matter, so it makes it hard to do it quickly and simply. But I believe there's like 76 Power 5 teams, 74, 75, something like that. So you add Notre Dame, and then you need 2 or 3 other teams. I would just argue that UConn should be one of them due to their basketball program alone, okay? Because you're going to need a couple other teams to step up anyways. So here are some of the pros, some of the cons to a potential Super League, okay? 80-team Super League. All right. More noses under the tent with what was reported to be 8 10-team divisions. Given the recent Big Ten and SEC power grab, such an arrangement would seem to be more equitable. It's about money, okay, to the rest of the FBS. That's a real possibility. A Super League could actually initiate some version of the Pac-12 reform on the West Coast, because one of those 10-team divisions, if that's what it is, I guarantee it would be by geographic location. What a concept, okay? And you'd probably have USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, Arizona State, Utah, a lot of those teams that are in the Big 12, the Big 10, in a similar division, okay, out in the West Coast. So if you're a former Pac-12 fan, which I miss it, okay, I miss it. This is something you could get excited about. A con, considering realignment happened because the SEC and Big Ten were able to assemble the game's top brands into 2 leagues, for the most part. Okay, why dilute the pool? Why add more teams, in other words? Okay, you could almost just say the Big Ten and SEC, maybe just add a couple other teams. They could become 2 24-team conferences. Okay, so 48 total teams, and then the champions of those two conferences could play. Now you're going to leave out a lot of schools, a lot of brands, a lot of fans. So that's why I think they want to go to 80. But like I said, you have to add a couple of teams to get to 80. Does that dilute it a little bit? All right, 80 teams is a floating figure. Okay, we're talking about kind of an overarching idea at this point, kind of 10,000 feet. When we get closer to what the actual idea goal will be, and I do think this is going to happen. How near in the future, I don't know. Is it 1 year? Is it 8 years? I don't know. It's going to happen at some point. Okay, just like I've said, the ACC is going to go away at some point. The ACC's best play to stay around is grab their top 7 brands and just have a tiny little power conference. That's their best ploy, because the revenue would probably more than double for each team in that conference then, which would then maybe entice Clemson and Florida State to stay, North Carolina. Otherwise, those schools are gone to the Big Ten SEC for sure. Okay. In reality, only a handful of schools would need to be added for the Elite League's formation. Okay. Now, I've already talked about Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Miami. They'd be a part of this 80-team Super League, so to speak. I about said conference. It's weird to say 80-team conference. Okay, now a longtime TV consultant told CBS Sports last summer that the top 40 teams could be worth $1 billion as a single entity or a single conference. All right, the current SEC is $60 million. The current Big Ten, $75 million, are kind of what their media rights are worth now. Before they get renegotiated again, it's going to be a big jump at that point. All right, now another pro. This idea has been gaining traction. It's only going to gain more and more traction. Why? Because you can make more money with this idea. So, of course, it's going to gain traction. And it makes sense. Excuse me. A Boise State athletic director. Boise State's a team that could potentially be added to this. They were left out of the Big 12. Big 12 added BYU, Utah, Cincinnati. Okay, the ACC added SMU. Because, yeah, the Dallas TV market, but that makes sense. So Boise State kind of got left out. No disrespect to Idaho folks. Wonderful people. Been through the state. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful mountains, beautiful rivers. Cold as, I was going to say, cold as the H word, but that makes no sense. Cold as ice, cold as Antarctica. Okay. Wonderful place, but they got left out in the past. Okay. Boise State assistant athletic director drew up a detailed promotion/relegation system last year. In the Super League model, the 8 divisions of 10 schools would change members from year to year. Schools that aren't necessarily additive to the elites would still have access through a promotion/relegation system similar to European soccer. So my wife loves soccer. She coaches competitive soccer. All my girls play competitive soccer. Soccer is preeminently a big thing in my house, which I would have never predicted in my life growing up. Soccer is incredibly difficult. It builds phenomenal athletes. I have nothing but respect for the sport. I don't particularly enjoy watching it as far as being entertainment value. I'd much rather watch predetermined outcome of matches and guys flipping off ropes and hitting each other with steel chairs. Yeah, it's me. Male soap opera. Deal with it. Okay. But one thing soccer does great. The bottom, I think it's 3 teams, okay, at the end of the year in a particular division or conference has to drop down a level, and the top 3 teams from that lower level comes up. And it happens every year. I love that. Because now all of a sudden, if you're a team that's 2-10, well, now your games matter. Because you don't want to drop to whatever you want to call it, G5 or whatever the case may be. You want to stay up in the Super League of 80 teams. Now those games freaking matter. So the teams at the top are fighting to get into the playoff play for a national title. Because the teams at the bottom are now fighting to stay in the Super League. And the teams that are maybe G5, whatever they'd be called at that point, the top 3 could possibly pop up to the Super League. So many more games would matter. I love this idea. I've always loved it. The composition of that 8th division, okay, would be based on annual accomplishments. Imagine a series of Conference USA Sunbelt AAC showdowns with the winners remaining at the top level of college football and competing for a 16-team playoff. That cutthroat game of football musical chairs would be fascinating. Okay. Con, what about teams being relegated? There would be about 50 left over annually who would have to play for something. So there's about 130 teams in FBS right now. So if you have an 80-team Super League, that leaves about 50 teams. What are they playing for? And they got to try to play for something, but it wouldn't be a college football playoff berth. In the Super League, the 8th division would provide 2 qualifiers into the 16-team field. However, those group of 5 teams might push back because of the guaranteed access granted in the current expanded playoff format. In other words, right now, they're guaranteed a spot in the 12-team playoff, so they're not going to be excited about possibly giving that up, the access, so to speak.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNT